Hello, and welcome to Mind Your Head, a space for people to share their stories, talk openly and honestly about their own mental health challenges, and to give some listeners some comfort in knowing you're not alone. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we record this podcast, the Gubbi Gubbi people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples. We honour their enduring connection to the land, waters and culture, and recognise their invaluable contributions they make to our communities. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
This episode is proudly supported by True Protein. Use the code MINDYOURHEAD at the checkout to score $25 off your next order. This episode is brought to you by TLC Recovery Centre on the Sunshine Coast. Head to TLC Sunshine Coast, use the code TLC15MYH to receive 15% off and experience it for yourself.
So I'd love to get your sort of backstory and how you are the man that you are today, because I think the experiences that we as children, as we grow up, they sort of lay the foundations to the people that we are today. So I'd love to get your sort of backstory and the experience that shaped you.
Yeah, interesting one. So I grew up Goldie, just around the corner here. Born in Kira, grew up kind of around Palmy area. And then I reckon the main influence that probably shaped who I was today and what I'm doing was when Mum remarried. I would have been 12 years old. So we had 3 boys, and then she married Chief. His real name's Don, but we call him Chief, mate, because he didn't talk much. Ex-footy player. Chief, mate, just nodded.
Yeah.
Right? And so when we all came together, we were living in this little tiny beach shack at 15th Avenue, Palmy, right? And it was this little shack in between all the mansions. We had all these boys living there. It was a 3-bedroom, like, fibro. And amazing for one, it was right on the ocean, right? Yeah. So it was the place where all the boys wanted to be, because there was just a rack full of boards every morning, every afternoon. Everyone would come around. We'd either go for a surf. If there was no surf, mate, it was just always shenanigans. And so with 6 brothers, there's probably at least 15 boys around there, every day. Yeah. And it was rough and tumble. So in my family, my name's Poco, and Poco means small for Italian. So I'm tiny, dude. My little brother's 6'7". They're all big boys.
Wow.
So I'm like the posty kid, mate. The curly hair, blue eyes. Everyone else is tall, dark, and handsome, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I remember I went to Mum once, and I would have been 13, and I was like, Mum, how do I get the boys to stop picking on me? And she said, oh, that's Poco, just don't cry. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I won't cry. And so at that time, that advice was spot on, right? Because, especially around blokes, when you're vulnerable and you cry, like I was only 13, they keep picking on you, right? And so I was like, okay, fine. I won't cry. I'll toughen up. I'll learn how to box. I'll put the shield on. I'll become a sarcastic little shit. And that didn't change, mate, until from the age of 13 till probably 30. I literally kind of grew into what I thought being a bloke was. Tough, exterior, interior, learned how to box, learned to be a real smart ass, did all the jobs I thought blokes did, did labouring, built log cabins, became a stockman. I was just trying to be manly for so long.
Trying to fit that mould,
Trying to fit the mould, mate. And I remember the first time I cried, again after 13, I would have been 26. That's how long it took me to actually shed a tear again.
Yeah, it's almost the emotions were sort of blocked. So
100%,
I felt the exact same way. Like, I didn't cry at all. And I pretty much got to 30 as well. Yeah. And I was still a boy as a 30-year-old man. And I had to sort of unlearn all these bad habits and patterns that I was doing all through my 20s, where I had to put this tough exterior on. What was your turning point? Was there a turning point for you to take the mask off and actually be you?
Yeah, 100%. It's funny when, what happens with life. There's a few different turning points along the way, where I remember one was we employed one of our staff, a water sports guru. Her name was Bree, and she was kind of just all heart. So if I was all head, she was just all heart, right? Like, I mean, just the softest, gooeyest person ever. And she really knew how to make people feel valued, right? And this was something back then, like, I was a really good communicator. I just didn't understand what connection was, right? You can get your voice across, you can have an intelligent conversation, but the fact that the moment that someone tried to bring me down to my heart space, I quickly just bring it back to that head level again, right? And so, you know, Brie and I kind of, like, over those years, she really sort of started chipping away at the concrete in my heart and sort of started to get me to understand what empathy was and kindness and, you know, what you do with this thing that, you know, beats not just blood,
It's there for a
but actually
purpose.
beats
Yeah.
humanity, right?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, same time, mate, you know, my friend Mal, you know, business partner, he took his life. There's all these, you know, one brother in out of rehab. So there was all these things that kind of culminated to, for me, going, okay, I think I can do better as a human being.
Sure.
And that's kind of where, you know, and then Green X7 was sitting by a creek in 2012 asking the simple question, why is it when we actively engage in nature, are we healthier and happier? And that kind of, all of those things culminating together kind of led to hanging out with you now.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? When did you first realize the power that nature has? Because I remember some of my favorite memories growing up would have to be like camping on North Stradbroke Island or
Yeah.
camping out in the bush. Like, when you're a kid, I don't think you probably realize that's part of it. That's part of the fun. And I look back at all of my fondest memories, and all of it's camping.
Yeah.
All of it's outdoors, whether it's out in the bush, you know, or if it's out in Stradbroke Island. It's always been outdoors.
Yeah.
What do you think is there a science behind that?
Yeah, 100%.
There
So
is.
interesting, because we literally just got back. We were just unpacking the car from Mini Waters.
Oh, cool.
I took
Yeah.
the family away for 4 days.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was saying before, this whole book launch, mate, it's just been really hectic. And I just had to disconnect from all the craziness and just reconnect back. And, yeah, for me, camping is kind of where I ground myself again. But the ocean is certainly somewhere where each day I try and go just to sort of listen to me. Look, the science behind nature is really interesting, right? So we'll take a beach walk, because a simple beach walk, which we can do 5 minutes away in Burleigh Heads. So as you're walking along the beach, you know, you've got the waves which are generating this negative ions. When we breathe in negative ions, it's reducing our blood pressure by 10 points. It's reducing cortisol, which is stress, improving overall well-being. The same thing is happening over on the left there. If we're walking along Burleigh, you've got all these evergreen trees, right? And these trees are creating this chemical called photoncides. And so when you breathe it in, it's doing the same thing. Then you're earthing. Shoes are off, earthing, connecting back, right, to the ions that we need. The reason why I love earthing, apart from all the science behind it, we need about 20 minutes a day to actually help prevent inflammation, is actually get you out of your head. And so it gets you to feel again. And because we're so busy being busy, we kind of don't take the moments enough to actually get out of our head and just get to feel. Sunshine, another beautiful chemical, mate, like helps it prevent up to 50 chronic diseases and illnesses. Unfortunately, in Australia, we're 70% vitamin D deficient, which is crazy, right? Because we're called the sunburn country, mate. No one's getting sunburned anymore.
All the skin cancers and everything that you see, all the melanomas.
100%, mate. Slip, slop, slap when I grew up. And funny, because you only get the benefits of the sun when the shadow is shorter than you. So if you're walking along the beach or a park and your shadow's shorter than you, that's the only time that you know, vitamin D is actually working in your body.
Oh, right.
Yeah, whereas we got told growing up, whatever you do, don't go outside.
Don't go outside, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Anyway, people need to do their own research on vitamin D. It's really interesting. The other thing too, what feels really amazing when you're in nature, see, throughout the day, our brain is constantly busy finding shapes. So in this man-made world, even this studio, our brain is always looking for shapes, right? So it's constantly thinking. And so our foot is always to the floor. It'd be almost like high revving your car all day long. And so going into nature, especially near water, when you're sitting by a fire, you completely zone out. My favorite too, mate. We just did 3 nights of it.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because your brain stops finding a pattern, right? So it finally allows itself to take the foot off the accelerator and just to be instead of constantly do. So forests, oceans, fires, all of these things were designed for our brain just to basically breathe again.
Yeah, because I really find that when I'm away at work, I've always got a radio next to me. I've always got a two-way. I'm talking to someone. Even just the frequencies of noise. I get to a point by the end of the week that I sit in silence. I don't have any music playing. I have no podcast playing. I turn my two-way down so no one can contact me, which is probably not a good thing. But I just need to be in silence because I think the sound or the frequencies has just been too much for the week. And I love that every day, every morning that I'm back home, I walk along the beach. I do that same thing that you were just talking about. Yeah. And I didn't realize how much I needed a break from technology. I needed a break from all the sounds, and I just wanted to hear the waves. I wanted to hear, the trees going.
Yeah.
That was such a big impact.
Dude, so I wish everyone had that same mindset as you, because this is what's happening, right? So you've worked it out, right, Elliot? So you go to work, it's busy, you got the foot on the accelerator, you're flat out, you're sleeping, you're not sleeping, whatever it is. Then what's happening is you're coming home, right? And you've got this week of, you're actually doing rest and recovery, right? Beautiful thing. What's happening now though, mate, is because of social media and the constant dopamine hit we get from the validation of it, we're not allowing ourselves to take the foot off the accelerator. So for you, mate, that's using best practice for the human body, you've understood that you need that reconnect and reset, right? And so you disconnect from technology and you go where your body needs to be. I think, mate, because we're so caught up being busy, we think zoning out on social media, doom scrolling, spectating the cricket, whatever it is, we think that that's reset and relaxation. It might be relaxation, but it's not restorative, because your brain is still constantly working hard while you're doing scrolling, right? And so that's why, mate, we need to take time out of our days just to be and actually recharge our batteries.
Yeah, it's almost re-looking how you see it and put that effort in to go outside for 20 minutes. And I only know that because I went through a really dark time with my mental health. And it wasn't until I could sit back and reflect and understand who that person was. And look at the habits. Like, I wasn't having that connection with friends. I was almost isolating myself. There was no healthy eating going on. I wasn't having fun. I wasn't going outside. I was living in the city and using that as an excuse as to why I couldn't go outside, even though the sunny coast and Gold Coast was only like 15-minute drive away. Yeah. Which I used to do all the time. But I look back at, like, let's say the 3 or 4 years where I was really, really down on my mental health. I'm at a point now I can look back and go, I get that's what happened, because look at my habits. Look who I was. Everything that I loved in life fell away. Yeah. And it wasn't, and it's so hard to pull yourself out of it in the moment. It's not until you reach rock bottom where you can actually reflect and go, no wonder I ended up like that. Like, look at that. So that's probably like one of the catalysts for me to understand the benefits of everything that you're talking about, because I know firsthand the other side of it, and how they can affect you.
And you're right. This is the thing, right? While you're in it, it's really hard to look from above and outside, right? A macro, and it's kind of. And I remember when I was in my late teens, I was. I had this bet with my chief, with my third dad, and I said, mate, I'm gonna be a millionaire by the time I'm 21. I'm gonna be the world's greatest motivational speaker, And I found Tony Robbins and
me too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And anyway, so mate, I worked my absolute ass off. Right, I stopped doing all the things I loved. I stopped surfing. I stopped hanging out with the mates, and I really pigeonholed and went hard into trying to be what I thought successful was. And I remember I went and visited my mum, and I had this journal that I kept. No, she came to visit me. And when I went to the bathroom, she's seen my journal, right? And she's flicking through it. And I came out and she's like, oh, hey, Poco, what's going on, mate? Like, you're not happy at the moment. I was like, oh, no, it's fine, Mum, I'm fine. She goes, well, hey, I just flicked through that journal of yours, and I don't think you're in a good space. Hey, I was like, oh, it's kind of life's hard. And she said, no, I think you're gonna have to change something. And that was a real catalyst to me, that I think that, I ended up packing it all up, sold everything, went overseas, spent quite a while overseas just trying to find myself, who I am. And I think if that didn't happen, if my mum didn't come over for a cuppa that day, find the journal, I probably would have gone into a really deep, dark place. But she was kind of like that awareness piece for me. Like, she was the reset that I needed to actually reflect on, yeah, you know what, I'm not happy anymore. But But I think I was so deep into it, trying to be successful, that I kind of didn't come up to breathe and actually reflect on whether I was happy or not, because I just thought happiness was succeeding and succeeding was happiness.
Yeah.
So I've never thanked mum for that, but I kind of have to, because she probably pulled me out from a place I didn't want to be.
So next question, how do you define success now?
Oh, having a good battery, brother.
Having a good battery. Yeah.
You know the battery check that you just did?
Yeah.
So for me, and for those that don't know what I'm talking about, the battery just basically measures your well-being, right, in 60 seconds. That's how your purpose is going, sleep, physical health, nutrition, mindset, fun, friendships, relationships. So these are the things that make up our well-being. So when I know that I've got a really good battery, I think mine's 85% at the moment, I know that I'm balanced, right? I know that I've got purpose, I'm really connected to my friends and family, I've got great relationships, I'm having fun. It's all the things for me that basically make my heart sing. And I think the definition of success now for me is actually, and it's an interesting one, I'm going to fast forward it to, I'll tell you what the ultimate definition of success is now that I'm a father. So I was sitting down with a client of mine about a month ago, and I said, "Oh mate, what are you up to tonight?" It was a Wednesday. He said, "Oh Timmy, I'm having dinner with all my kids." I'm like, "Oh, awesome, mate. How old are your kids?" He said, "Oh, look, they're all in their mid to late 20s. And I was like, "What? And they're coming over for dinner?" And he said, "Yeah, all of them, and their partners." And I'm like, "What do you mean, mate?" Like, he goes, "Every Wednesday, all my kids come over for dinner." And I didn't understand that, mate, because I never have dinner with my dads. And I said, "So every week they all come over, they sit down and they have dinner with you?" He goes, "Yeah, mate, we do it every single Wednesday night." And when I drove away, man, I realized that would, for me, be the ultimate success as a father, is that your kids still want to hang out with you, even though they don't have to. And I think for success for me, mate, is that when you have people in your life that you love and love you back, and you have the time and the space to create those connections each and every single day or week, that to me is my greatest success. And the ability to, when you want to, mate, just take yourself away and go camping and do the things that you love. And I think, look, one of the best definitions of success is, being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with the people that you want, right? But to me, it's freedom to spend time in nature with the people that I love.
Yeah, I love that, because that's the relationship I have with my parents now, where they've just retired at the start of the year. They're actually doing a world tour at the moment, so hello, mum and dad.
So good.
I think they're in Mexico at the moment.
Oh, good on your team.
But yeah, that's what I love, because I think for so long, when I was in that sort of a bad headspace, I think I just shut everyone out. And I remember sort of coming to in my 30s, and Dad, he's been on the podcast and he shared his story growing up and things that he never shared before, and it brought us closer together, because the more we know about each other, the more we understand each other, and the better our relationship can be. So I remember I sort of coming out of this bad headspace, and I honestly, man, probably for my whole 20s, like I was a little boy and I just didn't communicate well. I was emotionally immature. And coming out, Dad messaged me, and I was chatting about this, and he messaged me saying, "It's good to have you back. We lost you for a few years."
Wow.
And I was like, it really hit home to me to realize, like, what's done is done. The time that has gone. I may have missed, say, the last 10 years when I was off trying to find myself, when I was off trying to understand who I am. That time's done, but mum and dad are retired now. They live back on the sunny coast. I can see them whenever I want. I want to make use of this time now that they're still with us, because they were in the mines, and I used to see them once a year, and once a year I would see them age. Whereas when I was a little kid, I had this naive idea that your parents were always going to be your parents. They're always going to look the same. They're never going to age. They're always going to be your heroes. They're going to be around forever. But it wasn't until I was seeing them once a year to go, fuck you, actually, in my head, I would never tell them. I was like, fuck, you're getting old.
You just told them, mate.
I was like, fuck, you're getting old.
Listen to this podcast.
And it made me realize, like, how fragile life is. Like, at some point, I'm going to have to say goodbye to my mum and dad. And I don't want to dwell over lost time or anything like that. So I'm in a beautiful spot now, what you just said about, how beautiful it is that
to have success, that your kids want to be at an age and they want to have dinner with you.
Yeah.
They want to hang out with you. They want to bring their partners over and spend time with you. And I want to give mum and dad that, because they've done so much for me growing up. I wasn't probably the most grateful, appreciated child growing up. I probably didn't understand the sacrifices that they made and how hard they worked, but I do now. So I want to like spend as much time as possible, and hopefully give them a couple of grandkids.
Yeah, this is the thing, mate, because when you do have kids, you know, mine are 4 and 2, it does change the way that you think about parenting and how hard it is, mate, and how much time that your parents have to invest into you. And I mean, just keeping you safe. Like, I mean, the amount of times, man, that my kids cross a road, you know, and I have to keep them safe from getting hit by a car, or I mean, like, it's constant, dude.
You're keeping them alive every single day.
Every single day, mate. You got to put a roof over their heads, food on the table. You got to keep them alive. And these are the things, mate, as a kid, you don't understand, you know, because it's so funny, because it's like, yeah, well, you had me, so, you know, tough luck. And you just think, holy shit, like we actually owe our parents a debt of gratitude. And look, I understand that we're just trying to do our best, right? Like, I believe that most people are just trying to do their darn best. You know, some people might not be, but we're doing the best with what we have. And I think the phrase too, you don't know what you don't know. Like, I didn't know 12 years ago, dude, that I could feel this good, you know, mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? Because 12 years ago, I was a very different person. As, you know, it sounds like we went through a very similar journey. And I think too, until you have kids, it's really hard to understand how fucking hard parenting can be.
You'd be so critical of your parents. And you'd be like, why didn't they do this? Or why didn't they do that? Or why did they do that? Why didn't they do something else? And you're exactly right. We can be so critical of them, and we don't actually understand, man, how tough. They raised 3 boys on fuck all money.
Yeah.
And not only that, we had everything that we ever wanted. We did not go without food. We weren't well off. Don't get me wrong. We weren't well off, but we had fun while not being well off. We understood the power of, like, we didn't need a lot of things, but we still had fun. We still played. We had games. We played cricket in the backyard. We went camping. We still did a lot of things. We went nippers down at the beach. Like, we played all the sports. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of fun. And I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned from my parents, is that, you know, you don't need material things all the time. You don't need, we celebrated birthdays, but we didn't give a lot of presents out.
Dude, this is such a good point, Elliot. I'm glad you brought this up, brother, because, okay, so average Australian battery is 64%, right? We're functioning, right? We're not doing great. We're busy. We're so bloody busy. We got both parents now working their absolute asses off. And I had this conversation the other day with someone that said to me, how do we change this? And I think the only way that we can change this is to understand that, number one, we don't have to buy happiness, right? And number two, we kind of have to go back to living well within our means. And it was really interesting because in 2008, when the GFC hit, so back then I was a dive master, and we had this club called the Wuss Club, and it was Warm Underwater Scuba Specialists. It was the exact opposite of what it was. It was a bunch of hardcore divers doing hardcore things, right? And my job was just to, you know, scare the shit out of them, but keep them safe at the same time. It was a great job. And when the GFC hit, I lost, you know, that kind of went under because most of those, you know, guys and girls lost their fortunes. A lot of them lost their families. And my dive dad back then, I called him Gaz, great guy. He kind of, you know, went through pretty well the GFC. And I said, mate, what did you do different, Gaz? Like, why did you kind of survive this? Why have you still got your fortune? Why do you still have your family? And most of these other guys don't. And he said, Timmy, I always believed that you should live well within your means. And I didn't kind of know back then what that meant, but I took it on board. And what it means, Elliot, is that, you know, you buy a house that you can easily afford. You buy a car you can easily afford. You go on holidays you can easily afford. Because what that does is it buys you time. And you spend that time doing the things that you love to do. But also too, mate, when interest rates go from 2 to 6%, right? You're not actually financially stressed, because when you're financially stressed, not only do you physically have to work harder, you mentally are exhausted trying to work out how to keep everything afloat. And I think what's happened, mate, is that, the average sort of working week was 38 hours and people were pretty comfortable. They had a good 20 hours a week spare to do the things that they love to do outside of, doing the chores and everything else. But then what happens, mate, is that, your interest rates go up and things happen. So you start working, 45, 50 hours a week. You're only left with 10 hours in the pot to do the things you love. And then what happens is, because I work with a lot of leaders, is that, you start working 60 hours a week. And all of a sudden, mate, you don't have any time left in the kitty. And that time that you would have been spending to, reconnect back to yourself and others through nature, your family and friends, that's all gone. And then we kind of wonder why we're starting to burn out. But the thing is, we're doing those things because we think it's the materialistic things. For some reason, the external validation of keeping up with the Joneses, or whatever you want to call it, is actually what's going to make you happy. Now, you saying when you grew up, you did nippers, you did all of that, play cricket in the backyard. That's how I grew up, right? In Palm Beach. We didn't have money, but what we did have was nature. We had the ocean right there, right? You could buy a surfboard for $50 at Cash Converters, right? You could do, you could play cricket in the backyard with next to nothing, just a bin and a bloody stick and and a ball.
Old tennis ball.
Old tennis ball, right? And it's these things that we've kind of forgotten. We've kind of forgotten that, while dad's sitting there watching cricket on the inside, his poor kid's playing bloody cricket against the wall by himself. And I think we've kind of got to realize that, hey, we don't have to buy happiness. Kids don't need all the materialistic things. What they actually need is just your time and your presence.
100%.
And I think that what we've got to realize is, just because you're physically there, it doesn't mean that you're emotionally available for your kids. And your kids remember that, right? And so I'm always trying to, when I work with people, is just say, hey, yes, I know that you're trying to work hard to support your family, because as a dad, you do, right? Like, you go, I want to give my kids the best opportunity I can. Like, that's what we think. But what we kind of forget is that the best thing you can give your kids is actually your time and presence. And we're sort of forgetting about that.
I love that, because that is like the narrative I hear a lot, is that hustle culture where it's just work to be successful, to get the next, $1 million paycheck, to get the next house, whatever it is. I want to support them as best as I can. And I see it a lot of, I work with a lot of sort of kids, whether it's, sporting or rugby stuff, and their parents are, working 24/7, whether they're doctors, and they're providing a good life. But the kids will say to me, but he's never at any of my games because he's working. I'd love for him to just be at one of my games to watch. And the father's mind, he's thinking, I want to, create this awesome opportunity for my kids. Everything's sort of paid for, all that sort of stuff. They're supported, they're food on the table, everything like that. But all the kid wants is
Yeah, and then the parents feel guilty, right? And this is now where we've got this generation that don't have any guardrails, right? They've kind of, they're doing whatever they want, whenever they want. There's no value system there. There's no discipline. And, we've called it soft parenting, but I think what we probably should have called it is guilty parenting, because when you both work full-time jobs, so look, I'll take a perfect example, that when you work so much, because every now and again I've got to go away and work and things like that, when you come home, you don't want to be the bad guy. And so when your kids do something wrong, you don't want to, that 1 or 2 hours that you actually really get to connect with them, you don't want them to think about you as the bad dad, right? Or the disciplinary or whatever that. So you kind of let things slide, right? And so your kids kind of get away with shit. Now, the problem is that if you do that week on, month on, month off, year on, basically, mate, you've got this sort of guilty conscience where you start buying things because you can't buy them with your time. You sort of buy them with materialistic things. And I think what I've had to learn, mate, is that, I'm kind of a fun but fair dad because I get to spend a lot of time with my kids, which means I do get to discipline them because I'm there enough to actually make sure
there's good times.
That there's the good times as well, right? Yeah. And it's fun. But yeah, I can totally see, mate, when you're working 60 hours, 70 hours a week, you don't want to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
I've always asked my guests, what are your 3 non-negotiables for living a healthy and full life? For me, it's movement, community, and good nutrition. I've learned that what you fill your body with plays a massive role in how you feel physically and mentally. That's why I use True Protein. They're an Aussie brand doing things the right way. clean, natural supplements with no artificial additives or fillers. Everything's made in-house in Sydney's northern beaches using the highest quality ingredients sourced from around the world. Whether it's supporting energy, improving focus, or reducing fatigue, their products genuinely help me show up better every single day. And just like Mind Your Head, they live by values I stand by. Be true, be you, and take care of your whole self.
Is it hard? You're talking about before about you're sort of working with leaders and that sort of thing. Is it hard? You're finding people that it's hard to be present, because it's something that I actually really struggled with, is letting go of the past, stop worrying about the future, and actually sit and be present. Whether it's with your kid, like, it's all good being present with them, but you got to be in the moment and actually paying attention. Is that something that you sort of chat to a lot of people about?
Bloody hardest thing ever.
Is it?
Ellie, yeah. So, look, I've got a couple of companies. Most people that I deal with are, sort of either CEOs or leaders of their own companies, right? The biggest issue that we all have, and look, I can put myself in their shoes because I have staff and all of these things, is that when you're at work, right? And so you're on. When you leave work, when you're a leader or it's your company or whatever it is, you're constantly thinking about it all the time. And so one of the biggest issues is that when we have is people like, hey, Timmy, I really struggle going to sleep, or I wake up at 2:00 and my brain is just on all the time, right? I understand it because I'm the same. So what I've had to work out, and I love biohacking my own self, right? I've spent the last 12 years biohacking, what works, what doesn't work, is that you have to find something that allows your brain to switch off. So the only thing that I've found, because if I sit there and let's just say my kid's reading a book to me, right? And I want to be 100% present, like without a doubt. But still, my mind still goes to, okay, got to sort out this problem, got to solve this, got to do that. So what I've had to find is, for me, I know that if I go do something that's fun and active, right, my brain switches off, because I'm so consumed about the sport that I'm playing or the hobby that I'm doing, or, whatever it is with my son, whether I'm kicking the soccer ball with my son or doing this with Frankie, my daughter, I'm all consumed in that. And so it allows me the ability to be present. And so sometimes it might just be for someone playing a game of tennis each week, right? Because that allows them to actually finally switch off. But you've got to find something for you or whoever's listening that can truly immerse you so much that you do switch off. And if you haven't found that yet, you've got to bloody try and find it, because otherwise your brain will burn out. So everyone has to have that escape.
It is out there. Like, you just got to keep searching for answers. What's your thing?
So, mate, funny enough, before kids, I used to love knitting.
Knitting. Would never have thought that.
My nana, before my nana passed, she taught me how to knit, and I just thought it was ridiculous. But I wanted to spend time with my nana, right?
Yeah.
And she knitted, so I knitted, and I was only a little kid, right, when she taught me to knit. And I remember, I know, and I remember quite a while ago, it would have been about, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. I remember I was in a full-on stage, right? Like Green X7 was growing. I was doing a lot of traveling overseas. I was finding I was starting to not burn out, but I could start to fray at the edges. And I remember that when I used to pick up the knitting needles, I would just my brain would just go blank.
I love that.
And I would just focus so hard on knitting. And so I went and bought some knitting needles and some wool, and I would just sit. The only thing I could knit were bloody scarves, mate. So
there's a lot of scarves around the house.
There's a lot of scarves. And I forgot about it, right? And the other day I saw someone knitting, and I was like, hun, I've got to pick up the knitting needles again. We need to find them. For whatever reason, right, putting on a cup of tea and sitting there knitting. I know this sounds absolutely ridiculous for the blokes living out there, but for whatever reason, it switched my brain off. I love reading a good Wilbur Smith or a Bryce Courtney.
Yeah, nice.
One of those.
Yeah.
And then, mate, surfing is another great one. Free diving is my absolute ultimate.
Really?
That's
your thing.
Free diving is my 100%
crazy.
passion. Yeah. I got my PB is 5 minutes and 10 seconds, breath holding.
What?
Yeah. I just love it.
And also, people got to realise, because I watched that documentary, is it Last Breath?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's because it's all good holding your breath.
Yeah.
But when you go down, it's the pressure as well.
100%.
And you're obviously working. It's the pressure of the water.
Yeah.
So that 5 minutes might feel like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And this is where I learned to use my breath, right? Because when I first discovered freediving, I was blowing bubbles. I was working at Kira Dive, and Energised, he was the Israeli freediving champion at the time.
Yeah.
I think his breath hold was 7 minutes. And he came in, he's like, oh, Timmy, have you ever tried freediving, mate? And I said, no, I'm a bubble blower, mate, through and through. He said, look, I got to take you freediving. It'll completely change the way that you feel in the water. And I was like, Eras, mate, I feel great. Like I love diving. It's all good. Anyway, he finally took me out, and mate, I mean, this day, Elliot, fuck me. If you could have picked a better day in your life, this would have been it. So, Era's his partner, myself, and another Louise who used to work for us. We went out there on this tiny little boat, inflatable. We went out to 9 Mile, right, this reef off the coast, and glass out. Like, I mean, one of those perfect ocean days. So anyway, he's telling me about breath holding and how to do the deep breathing, and whatever you do, Timmy, you've really got to reconnect back to your body, mate, because you don't want to get shallow water blackout. And on this particular day, it was actually my mate Chen's wedding. So I had to be back by 2:00, right?
you're pushing it, eh?
I'm pushing it, right? Mate, anyway, by the time we were about to get up and leave, 3 humpback whales literally just graced us with their presence, mate. I mean, it was the most phenomenal moment. We're in the water. You could feel the dorsal fin,
just
going.
You guys.
Just us,
Yeah.
mate. And I actually was completely hooked in that moment. And I think the difference why I love freediving over scuba diving is when you're scuba diving, you're in the natural environment, but you don't feel like you actually belong to it. And when you're freediving, because there's no bubbles, you'll go down, you'll sit on the bottom of the ocean, you'll close your eyes for a minute. And then when you open them up, mate, you just see this array of marine life just circling you. I mean, it's almost like welcoming you into their ocean family. You're one of them. And they will literally come up to your face. Like, I mean, you can sit down the bottom there, you're face to face with a leopard shark, mate, 10 centimeters away. And he'll just sit there, mate, just going, cool.
He's probably
awesome.
thinking, what are you doing down here?
Yeah, I'm probably thinking like he's really chilling with me, and he's probably going, "What the fuck? Piss off, you human! What are you doing?
You're not meant to be down here."
Yeah, scram, kiddo.
So how far do you go down?
Oh well, look, off the coast here, we're in Gold. Okay. This beautiful spot off Finglehead, Cook Island. Do you know Cook Island? Yeah. So Cook Island, it's literally only 600 metres off the beach. So we obviously, with Water Sports Guru, we take tours out there on boats. But if it's just me or my mates, we'll just go off a kayak. We'll just rope up onto the mooring buoys. And then we'll just spend a couple of hours free diving and hanging out, right?
Yeah, right.
So Cook Island's amazing because it goes from ledges. So you've got like a 2 metre down to a 5 metre down to a 10. And then it sort of comes out to a 14 to 15 metre ledge. So it's really good for like, different intermediate beginners and things like that. To get really deep off here, you would have to go to like a 9 Mile or something like that. But to me, the reason why I do freediving is not to get as deep as possible. But the reason I do it is because after about an hour, I get almost like this transcendental emotion. You know, when people, they say they do mindfulness or yoga and they go into this transcendental state? I've never been able to do that with mindfulness meditation. But man, when I free dive after about an hour and I literally will be underwater for God knows how long, I literally go into like this insane euphoric state where I feel like I'm back in the womb again. Like, I mean, it's like nothing in the world matters. And you have like you can see the water on the sand just sort of like cruising along, and you're watching all this marine life. And I remember one day, mate, I was mid-water and I'd taken the kayak way off the back of Cookie. And I'm free diving mid-water, completely blue. And mate, I could hear the humpback whales just resonating in my, like, the whale song, right? And it was like deep in my heart. I mean, like, oh my God. And all of a sudden, incredible. I'm just sitting there with my eyes closed, because the reason why I love freediving so much is because I literally feel like I'm at home. And I think that's why I can hold my breath for so long, because I feel like I'm a part of it and I don't want to leave. Yeah. Mate, no shit. I turn to my right and there's a fucking humpback whale just cruising past me, mate, in between Cookie and Fido's. I was like, mate, this just makes land so boring. And this is the thing about the underwater world, mate, is that it does make land really boring when you got that.
It's almost like you've found like the meaning of life, like your own meaning of life. Like,
Be the turtle, mate.
Just being out there, just fully disconnecting.
Well, that's what, right?
Yeah.
When you say to people, like, find something that, makes you alive, like, mate, that's it for me.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous of that.
You're
Take a
coming
GoPro
out now,
next
brother.
time.
Yeah, you're coming out.
I'd love to talk about your book, Energized. We spoke off camera a little bit. You're flat out with it. What led you to writing it?
Mate, started in 2016, really just journaling. So I have, before I even thought about writing a book, mate, I literally had these journals called Book of Dreams. God knows how many I'm up to now. And I, same thing, mate, when I went through that rough patch, I kind of just started observing, working things out, reading white papers, creating frameworks, seeing what worked, what didn't work. And I think, mate, after a while, once you'd finally worked out what it took to thrive sustainably and doing it for so long, I kind of just had all these journals. I was like, right, I think I need to put this into a book. Now, saying that, mate, I started writing in 2017. So I've just, and I've only just published it. So between COVID, 2 kids, and trying not to be too busy, I think the book there is, mate, it's, the best way to explain it would just be something that's really simple and practical, just to help you basically do better, which is what I'm always trying to do.
Yeah, we spoke about before the sort of the 8 areas that we speak about.
Yeah.
And you spoke about the one that, the fun is the one that we need the most. Oh, that we're lacking the most.
Yeah.
If you could choose the one that you think we need the most, what would be your number one?
Such a good question.
What would be your number one, you reckon?
No, I never asked that question, by the way, Elliot.
Okay.
That's funny. I've been doing this for so long. No one asked me that question. Okay, so interesting enough, you take the 8 areas, and I always put purpose last, right? And, and I always focus on, sleep and mental health and nutrition. But the thing is, what I realize is that you can get all these tools, right? Like, we could go on a chat GPT right now. We could literally put in, hey, I'm a 43-year-old male living on the coast. What do I need to do to look after my well-being? And, mate, it will do a really good job of doing everything. I'm not to say don't buy my book, guys, because it's a great book. But the one thing, you got it, brother. Nice work.
Right there.
Awesome. But the one thing what I realized, mate, is that it doesn't matter how much you know, how much information you're given, unless you understand the reason why you want to look after yourself and be a better version of you. Boom. Let's say
just knock my water bottle off.
Yeah, so good. Right, unless you, unless you actually know why you want to be a better version of you, you're probably not going to do anything. And so what I realized after doing this now for 10 years, mate, and God knows how many countries now and how many thousands of people, is that it's this. There's 2 things that we actually need, right, to help our potential to feel that. One is the ability, right? We actually need energy, because if we can't get out of bed, it doesn't matter what how much we want to live the best version of ourselves, we can't do it. The other thing we need is the willingness, the reason why you actually want to look after you. And so for those that are listening, if you understand the ability, right, and you know that you need sleep and you need to move your body and you need to eat well, because all of this is basically fuel for your body, energy, right? But also, too, you really need to understand your why, because the number one regret of the dying is I wish I lived a life true to myself and not the one others expected of me. And the reason why probably you and I love nature so much is because it cuts all that white noise. And it allows us to finally dig into our heart and actually go, right, what is my purpose? What do I want to do, right? What lights me up, right? And what's my expectation for myself? And once you find that purpose, like my purpose is just to get people to reconnect back to themselves and others through nature. And I do that in so many different ways. But when you wake up every single day and you have such a fire in your belly, right, to achieve that purpose, then you'll do whatever you can to get energy to continue to do your life's purpose. And so when you don't have a purpose, when you don't understand why you want to be the best version of yourself, who you're doing it for, why you're doing it, then really you don't really need to fuel yourself with energy, because you don't even have a reason why you need to do it. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to understand it, to actually create the self-worth for you, or the self-love that you need to actually want to find a purpose and to want to fuel your body with energy, right? There's 3 things that we need in life. And number one, we need to create value and feel valued, right? And so every single day, we should always try to make other people feel valued. right? We also need to have a sense of meaning. Like, why are we on this planet in the first place? And sometimes this is why religion can be a good thing, because it actually gives us a purpose and a meaning, right? The other thing is what we need is belonging. We actually feel like we need to feel like we're with a tribe, whether that's at home, at work, with your friends, whatever it is, we all need at a biological level to feel like we belong to something. And so creating value, meaning, and belonging every single day creates self-worth. Self-worth creates self-love. And it's that self-love that you need with your ability and willingness to actually move the needle to want to do something good for yourself. The problem is, mate, as you know, is that we're not doing those three things. We're not creating value for others. We're not finding our meaning, and we're certainly not wanting to belong to a tribe, because we think that tribe and that value and meaning becomes from a screen. And so we sit there on these screens thinking that that's what's going to give us those three things, and it's doing the exact opposite.
What would you do if you had all the power, all the money, the way that screens are the way that it's going? Like, you've got, young kids. Me and Jordan, my wife, we talk about it all the time. What's the world going to look like 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when our kids are an age where, they've got screens, all the iPads, the iPhones, everything's going. Like, we talk about it and we're like, let's make a pact. Like, don't give our kids, don't give our kids phones. Like, we're already having these conversations because we're fearful of what's the future going to look like. How do we reverse the damage that's already been done? Like, how are you parenting your kids in terms of screen time? I know they're not old enough to have screen time, but I guess,
mate, funny enough, you do see 2-year-olds at cafes on screens.
Yeah. So what's the solution there?
Big question, brother bear. Yeah. This is like a world peace question, man. You know that.
I'm selfishly asking you that because Jordan and I talk about this so much.
All right, mate. I'm going to give you I could give you the unrealistic version and just say get off screens, but that's not realistic. Unless it changes societally. Like, we've just brought these new rules in that kids under the age of 16 can't have a social media account. Like, mate, kids still ride without helmets on. Like, let's just be honest. So there's two things here, right? One is you take your whole family and you go move to Whoop Whoop and you create a commune and, you can do whatever you want, right? But if you still want to fit into society, like for us, we live in Kingscliff, it's a beautiful place. I love it because of nature. But the thing is, it's 10 minutes away from an airport. I have to get on a plane. I do keynote speaking, all that kind of stuff. So unless I literally want to pull myself out and, live on the land, which to be honest, I'm shithouse at growing anything. So it's probably not going to happen. Right? I think what you've got to do is you've got to role model the behaviors that you want for your kids.
I love that.
And so for me, it's, we still watch TV. Like every night, my wife and I might watch, one series, 45 minutes or something like that. Like we still let our kids sit in front of the TV every now and again when we got to do something, clean the house, whatever it is. But what we're really, really good at is trying to inspire them to live exactly what I'm trying to do, is get people to reconnect back to themselves and others through nature. And so we're constantly taking our kids out playing, right? We just came back to camping from mini waters. And I think as parents, and mate, you'll be a parent soon, I think what we've got to do is role model what we want our kids to behave and act like as they grow up. Because if we're sitting around and we're looking at screens at the dinner table, right? All we do is as soon as we get home and we sit on the couch and put on the TV, then don't expect your kids to do anything different. If you want to eat junk food, don't expect your kids to eat anything but junk food. And so as much as, I'd love to be, the president of the world and say, hey, let's just fuck social media off altogether, chances are it's not going to happen. But if you can role model what a really good behavior is and your kids are inspired by you, hopefully, mate, it gives them enough grounding to realize that, I don't need external validation. I actually just need to be loved and feel loved.
I love that you said that, because I had a guy on the podcast not too long ago and he was telling me about, parenting, and I was always asked, I'm so inquisitive about it because it's something that I take seriously and something that I want to be good at, and I take that as a huge responsibility. And he was saying to me that kids don't listen to what you say, they watch how you live, so live accordingly. So that's exactly what you're saying there, is to model those good behaviors to them, because you might tell them not to get on get on screens, but if they watch you doing it, they're just going to model what you're doing anyway. So that's probably one of the biggest lessons that I've sort of taken away, especially for what you just said then, is be that model to them. Create those habits before kids have come. So in terms of, I don't want to make change when kids have already arrived. I've spent the last, I reckon, about 5 years trying to better myself as a person, as a man, trying to get rid of those sort of nasty habits that I had when I was a young boy, and trying to model that now. So when kids come, it's not so much of a change in terms of who I am as a person. I can just continue on being the person that I am.
Yeah. And that's the thing, mate. Like it's a beautiful thing that we kind of realized that we needed to change. Like not everybody does. And like I said, mate, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that because you're working on yourself already and you're trying to biohack your life on how to be better, you're going to take that, mate, into fatherhood. And you're going to do the exact same thing that you've done for you over the last 5 years. And you will literally do that for your kids. And you will find ways, mate, to make their lives better, not in terms of what you're providing them, but the foundations of what they're going to live on through you. And so, mate, I don't think you have to worry about it because, you've kind of already worked it out, mate. And you actually care. Like, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're deliberate in the fact that you care about having kids and you want to make sure that you care for those kids.
Well, you talked about finding your reason why. And I think being a father was my reason why. I was thinking about it a lot, to be honest with you. What was sort of my turning point into changing my life? Because I had some terrible habits in terms of that footy culture and drinking and drugs and partying and being disrespectful to people and also disrespecting myself. I had no self-love. I didn't care about myself, and me not caring about myself, I hurt other people in that manner as well. And I think looking forward to the future, I wanted to have kids. Like I wanted to have a family, and I was embarrassed at the person that I was looking in the mirror. And I thought, well, I can't, I don't want to be this person if I want to have kids. And me being a father was the biggest reason why I set on this journey. And I guess the podcast came about, but my own personal journey of trying to seek answers for some of the questions I had long avoided. Like I avoided so many things in my past where I knew something was wrong, or I knew something was different, or I knew something I needed to address something, but I just procrastinated about it. I was so fearful of what I was going to come up. I was so scared. I didn't know how to regulate myself. I think regulating my emotions was something that I definitely need to work on, and it's something that I'm still working on today.
It's a tough one, mate.
I just didn't know. I couldn't put words to emotions. So when I was younger, I just always thought, you always get told, I'm sure you'd hear it a lot, is especially with young boys, is anger's bad. Don't show anger. Don't get frustrated. Don't act out like that. And I think I just always associated good emotions, bad emotions. And I suppressed all the bad emotions, and I would always lose my temper. I just didn't know how to regulate myself. So I remember to this day being a kid and always losing my temper at things. And then that developed in being an adult. Well, class as an adult, but still acting like a kid. I was always losing my temper, always had a short fuse. You could set me off so easily. And then I would get angry at being angry. And then I would just be in a circle of why am I like this? Why am I angry about this?
Yeah.
And then that was 10 years, 12 years, 15 years of being like that. And then it wasn't until I hit 30, then I started asking questions. Whereas before I never asked questions. I was never curious about it. I was never aware of it. And until I hit 30 and I was like, why am I like this? Why does that trigger me?
Dude, I'd be so interested on how many blokes are listening to this, nodding their heads in agreement like I am right now, because, mate, I literally lived probably from the age of 15 to 30 with a boxing bag. I couldn't go anywhere without either being near a boxing gym or having a boxing bag hung up. And every night I would literally beat the shit out of that boxing bag. I had to box to let out all of my emotions. I was so aggressive. I never backed down from a fight. I don't know what it was, man, but I was just so pent up. I probably do know what it was, but I was so pent up with rage and anger and didn't know how to do it that I would literally just box the shit out of anything. And Same thing, mate. Around that age of 30, like I was saying, a few things happened where I actually started reflecting on why the fuck am I so angry? Like, what is this rage inside of me? And until you understand that, you can use your nose as a tool to actually, reconnect to yourself and breathe. I think for a lot of blokes, mate, they're probably listening to this and they're like, yeah, I'm exactly the same. And how the hell can I get rid of this anger and rage inside of me? And it's a tough one, mate. And it's one of these things that you and I have had to both work through. And we've been on this journey, right? And we're still always going to be on the journey. We're always going to be students.
The work never stops.
The work never ever stops, mate. And sometimes I do a little bit of teaching, but I kind of am always the student. But I think, for any bloke that's listening, mate, they're not abnormal, right? Like you and I are just discussing now that we grew up just like that, like having all this anger inside of us that we didn't know what to do with. So for anyone listening, and if that's them, mate, it's okay. Like that's how we grew up. But there is a way.
There is a way.
Yeah.
Do you mind talking about sort of your darkest moments, your rock bottom? Did you reach a rock bottom? You can say no.
Mate, it's a funny thing about life because I don't know when the rock bottom was for me, because there's been lots of bottoms, right? In terms of losing, mates around me, the time that, mum found that journal. Mate, we had a tough time with our daughter who, when she came out, mate, she screamed for 8 months. I mean, like we couldn't put her down. We couldn't leave Kingscliff. It was 8 months of just torture. Luckily she's cute. We would have thrown in her a bin multiple times.
Fuck.
Yeah, mate. Hopefully you don't get one of them, mate. Cranky Frankie. Everyone called her Cranky Frankie, mate, because she literally, it was a blood-curdling scream, mate. So imagine that for 8 months,
How
not
did you
being
get
able
through
to.
it?
Just, mate, my wife and I are a really good team.
You work well together.
Yeah, we know when we're about to lose it, and we'll tap each other out, and we'll be like, right, you're up. Take 20 minutes, go do what you need to do. She'd go for a run, I'd go for a swim. When you have kids, you need to make sure that you and your partner are a really good team. Because when you get married, it's interesting. Sometimes you go, well, okay, what is the purpose of being a good husband or a good wife? And I think number one, it's to make sure that you look after your own well-being first. So you don't get short-tempered, you don't get impatient, you don't get frustrated, right? And you can sort your own shit out, right? You shouldn't be leaning on someone else to sort your own shit out. The other thing is to make sure that you're looking after the well-being of your partner. And I always put Carly first above my kids because, mate, without my wife or their mum, we're fucked. Like, let's be honest, right? So I always make sure I recharge my batteries. I always know when she needs a good recharge, and sometimes she does the same for me. And so we have to be a good team. And you're going to realize this really soon because, mate, they can be really fucking hard. And so for me, the rock bottoms, there's been a few times in my life where I know that it can go either way, right? And I've kind of watched, unfortunately, a few mates go and never come back. And, it's been hard to watch them. And I never really wanted to leave, I guess, my friends and family in that situation. And so I think for me now it's great because I have such a strong true north that, it does light me up, and I can't, and I shouldn't say ever, but I can't imagine going back to that place where I was a few times and staying there anymore.
Yeah, I think about, Jordan and I have conversations about that because she sort of missed the rock bottom years for me, but she was definitely there for the climb out. So she didn't witness how bad it got, but she was there for me trying to search answers. And one of my biggest insecurities that I had to let go of was her thinking that I was unstable. I was really fearful of her worrying about my own mental health because she knew how bad it got. So that insecurity bred me to be like Superman, or wanted her to think that I'm Superman. So I wanted her to, it was almost performative. I didn't want her to worry about me because I didn't want her to think that I was unstable. I wanted her to know that I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be reliable. If you need anything, I'm always gonna be here for you. Because I looked at me, in 2017, and I was soulless, and that was one of the biggest learning curves for me to let go of. Was she sat me down and she was like, you know, you want me to see you as Superman? And I was like, yeah, I'm really worried about you thinking that like I'm unstable, I'm damaged goods because of my past. She goes, you know what's even stronger than that? You being honest with me about, you know, if you're having bad days, I'm not going to worry about you. Like, I know that you've got good, you know, habits, you've got a good lifestyle, you've got good knowledge around your mental health. Like, you know, you've got a checklist of things you need to do to get you in a good health space. So I know you're not going to fall back to those days. So you don't need to like hide things from me. I would hide bad days because I didn't want her to worry about it. Because I would think I was so like, oh, she's thinks I'm having a bad day. Maybe she thinks I'm going to slip back into it again. So they're the small insecurities that I had to sort of let go of, especially finding a life partner and all the wounds, all the bad things that you thought about yourself, to open them up and her to give me unconditional love the whole way through.
This episode is brought to you by TLC Recovery Centre on the Sunshine Coast. Whether you're chasing peak performance or just need to reset, TLC has everything you need. Infrared saunas to help detox your body, reduce inflammation, improve circulation and calm the nervous system, leaving you feeling lighter, clearer and more recovered after every session. They've got cold plunges to reduce inflammation, boost mood and mental clarity and build resilience. They've got compression boots to speed up muscle repair and massage therapists who know exactly what your body needs. But what really sets TLC apart? The people. The owners are the kind of good humans you want in your corner. Down to earth, genuinely care and deeply invested in the local community. Head to TLC Sunshine Coast, use the code TLC15MYH to receive 15% off and experience it for yourself.
Do you reckon in the way that we grew up, right? Like, our generation's an interesting generation because, let's be honest, mate, we're the first generation to really change nappies, clean the house, cook. Like, you know, our fathers didn't do that. Their fathers never did that. And so I think that, you know, our generation is the first generation where we're kind of opening up about how we feel. Because we're always told that, you know, basically, look, some of us got told that if you're sick, lock yourself in a room, come out when you feel better, right? Don't share your emotions, harden up, you know, toughen up, have a cup of cement. Like,
you don't need to cry.
You don't need to cry. Like, all the things, right? Like, and look, every generation before us has gone through that. And so for us, this generation now is that we're kind of being told that, hey, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable. But yet every single cell in our body previous to us have always been told the opposite. Don't cry, harden up, right? Have a cup of cement. And so it's really hard, Elliot, because it's like this conflicting information that, you know, after all these generations, thousands of years, millions, whatever you want to believe in, we've been told one thing. And then all of a sudden now we're like, oh, but hang on a sec. No, I need to be vulnerable. I need to open up. I need to tell them how I'm feeling. And it's really hard, mate. And I can see how a lot of blokes really struggle with this because for me as well, like, I try and open up to my wife as much as I can because I've seen what happens when you don't, right? And you hold that in. And so for me, I'm trying to be vulnerable. I'm trying to discuss not everything, but as much as I can to make sure that she's a part of my life, right? And she feels that I'm connecting to her because we have to, like I said, there's a difference between communication and connection. But I think like what you're saying, mate, you know, trying to be Superman because we've been told that we need to be supermen, right? And so we don't want them to see our kryptonite. But we've all got fucking kryptonite.
Yeah, that's
like,
the thing.
At the end of the day, mate, I still get impatient. Like, you know, patience is my kryptonite. Like, I've really got to work out how to improve that. And we all have kryptonite. And so we have to show our partners that we are human because that's what creates connection, right? And the thing is, mate, it's funny because, you know, I talk a lot about connected leadership in this book, but being a good leader isn't about being a Superman, right? One of the best things about being a leader is actually inspiring people to follow you, not because you said to follow you, but because they're inspired to follow you. And the only way that we actually create true connection is when we earn trust with someone. And the only way that we actually trust someone is when they're vulnerable with us. And so, as you know, mate, when you sit down with a bloke and you start sharing some of your vulnerabilities and insecurities and real life moments, it allows them to do the same. And I think that's with our partners as well. We've got to realize that, if we actually share some of our vulnerabilities and insecurities, it creates trust with that partner. And trust is the thing we need more than anything else, mate, with our partners to make sure that we actually have a deep and fulfilling connection with each other.
I love that, because that's exactly how we both felt when we both shared our vulnerabilities or our dark moments, or what we truly felt in that moment. Even though we were both crying, even though we were both sort of, letting it all out, the feeling that we got afterwards where we felt so much closer together. And the thing that I was running away from was actually hurting me the most. And as soon as I sort of let my guard down, let my walls down, let her all the way in, not just an arm's length, that's when our connection grew so much stronger. And then having, like you said, having that trust that she's not going to run away just because she knows some of your secrets, the dark secrets that you never told anyone.
Yeah.
The first thing she said, I'm not going anywhere. It's all good. And then I was just thinking, oh man, like this is what I was searching for so long, that I was so afraid as having that deep connection. I'd love to know, what have you learnt about finding your life partner?
Mate,
finding the right life partner, should I say?
Dude, it was I spent many years in my 20s struggling to even keep a partner, I think, because emotionally I was such a retard. What I learned, and look, I'm really lucky because I married a unicorn, right? Like my wife is phenomenal.
One of one,
mate. And the only reason I got to marry a unicorn is because I put so much effort and work into myself. Like there is no way that I would have attracted my wife, Carly, how I would have been 10 years and more ago. And so I found that throughout my life, the partners that I attracted were very similar to the way that I was in that circumstance at that moment, right? And it was
almost like a mirror or a reflection.
Yeah, and not always great. And so when I reflect on some of my relationships, I think, wow, that was the kind of person that I was actually mirroring, right? It wasn't healthy. Certainly wasn't happy. But I think because I did so much work on myself, I realized that when you try and be a better version of you, right, you start attracting people around you that are also trying to do the same, right? And I think for me that I finally got to a stage, when I first met Carly around 7-8 years ago, and a funny story between her and I, mate, when I started Water Sports Guru back in 2009, down at Kingscliff, there was Mantra and Pepper's Hotels. And I used to come in and I'd stay at our bookings desk and I'd book people in, and she would actually be on the front counter. And so I'd walk in and I'd be like, oh, hey girls, how are you? Hey Kate, hey Carly. Needless to know that, many, many, many years next, she would literally be my wife. But back then, mate, on the outside, I was always, happy Timmy. But on the inside, it was definitely a different story. And so I attracted those kind of people back then that also needed help and needed rescuing, right? But I think when you get to a point within yourself that you like the person that you are, that's probably the best way to look at it. When you look in the mirror and you literally look deep into your eyes, right? And this is an exercise that our listeners can do, and it's not easy, and sometimes it can be painful. But when you go into the bathroom and you flick on the light switch and you literally stare deep into your eyes. Now I know it sounds a bit weird and woo-woo, but when you stare deep into your eyes and you just look and look and look and look, before I didn't like who I was looking at. But I've done enough work now with myself to be proud of who I am as an individual. And when I look into my eyes now, I go, you know what, mate? You're doing fucking good, Timmy. Like, you've done good, mate. Like, I'm proud of you, dude, from where you've come from, right? And I actually can say that I love the person that I've grown into. Now, I've got plenty more work to go, but I definitely love it. And I think that, mate, when you have that resonate within your heart, then that person that you attract also has a deep love and respect for themselves. And when two people come together that have a deep love and respect for themselves and for each other, that right there is the start of a really beautiful relationship, because you're not asking for someone to come and heal you or to fix you, right? You're asking someone as a circle to also meet another circle and play together, right? And not heal each other, but just play together. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be there for that person or you're not going to heal them when they need it. It means that you're coming from the right place. And that's when it comes to finding the right partner, try and be the very, very, very best version of you before you settle down with someone, because whoever you meet at that time, it's going to basically mirror who you are. And if that's not who you want to be for the rest of your life, then don't get into a relationship with that person.
Yeah, I love that. Because me and Jordan were chatting not too long ago, and something came up on the TV, and I can't remember what the question was, but it sparked a question in me to ask her, do you feel like I put you first? And she paused for a little bit. She went, yeah, after yourself.
Oh, nice.
And I instantly was like, oh, what do you mean? Because that's very common to feel selfish or feel guilty for putting yourself first.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I didn't say anything, but she could tell by the look on my face that I took it as like, oh no, what have I done? She went, no. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You put me first after yourself.
Yeah.
That's the way it's meant to be. And I was like, oh, I never really...
Can't look after her if you're not looking after you, mate. And exactly. I think this is the issue, mate, is that when people burn out, they don't understand that they're burning out because they're trying so hard to look after everyone else that they forget to look after themselves. But, mate, the moment you burn out and you can't get out of bed, the only thing that happens is everyone else has to then start to look after you. And so sometimes you have to understand that looking after yourself isn't selfish at all, but it's selfless.
Yeah.
Because it's only when your cup is full that you can give other people anything as well.
It's true. Like, looking after yourself is looking after everyone.
100%. Yeah. And the better you are, like your battery's 88%, right? Which is insane. It's a great battery, dude. You should be proud of that. But what that means is that you're coming from the best version of you. And so when your battery's at 50% or 64, which is the Australian average, mate, you're never coming from the best version of you. And so to me, that's kind of selfish because what you should be doing, especially for your loved ones, is trying to be the best version of you for them. And so we're kind of worked out how to best do that. And I just think it's great if you can work that out yourself as well for others too.
Yeah. We're running out of time. How long have I got you for? How long have I got you till 1 o'clock? Have I?
Yeah,
I could keep talking.
Well, there we go. 12:37, mate.
I could keep talking to you forever.
Go on, brother. No, that's fine, mate.
One of the biggest things that you were talking about before is the importance of play, having fun with each other. Why does that matter so much? You know, you talked about it with your partner there, that it's so important for us to have fun with each other.
So there's two reasons, mate. One is innately we all know how much we love to play, right? We know that it fills up our cup. We know that it lights us up. The reason why I talk about it so much is because I've been doing the research behind it. Now, number one, I know that we need it in Australia because, as I said, we're really bad at it in Australia at the moment. The second thing is I know that it's so important because it does a lot of things for our mind, body, and soul. So let's just have a look at statistics, right? Loneliness, fastest growing epidemic in Australia. 1 in 2 people are saying they're lonely, even in a relationship, which is quite scary.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, dude, it's not great. Yeah, yes. And loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day on your health.
Say that again?
Loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day for your health.
What?
Yeah, don't be a lonely smoker. That shit really kills you. So that's one really scary stat, right? So we've got loneliness. Then the other thing is too, we've got basically 70% of us are vitamin D deficient. And as I was saying before, the sunshine literally is a miracle cure, right? We just got to be careful not to obviously get sunburns. The other thing is too, what does play do? Play gives you movement. Movement is one of the greatest things that we know to improve not only your physical health, but your mental health as well. Play also creates creativity and productivity. And so when I talk about play, and look, when I frame it up for corporates or leaders, it's about purposeful leisure activating youthfulness. Now, we spend phenomenal amount of money. I think it was like $200 billion a year in the world on trying to look and feel younger.
Fuck.
Right? Like insane on cosmetics, on plastic surgery. Mate, we're on the Gold Coast. Sorry, that was a bit of a dig.
Yeah, we live here.
Yeah. But we literally spend billions and billions of dollars trying to look and feel younger. Now, here's really interesting. If you want to look and feel younger, right, play racket sports. because we know
I heard this.
with longevity
Yeah.
that you can, if you play racket sports, you can live up to 10 years longer than your counterparts that don't.
And why is that? Why is that?
So
again?
this is why I love play, mate, because what play does, if you do play, healthy play, not going to the casino and gambling, let's not do that. Number one, you grab someone that you like, right?
Yeah.
So you're creating a connection with someone, right? You're having fun with someone, right? So all of these things, what do we do? We're creating value, meaning, and belonging. We're moving our bodies. Great for physical health, right? Cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, dementia. We're also using it too for our brain, right? So one of the best things to avoid dementia, Alzheimer's in that category is to actually move our body. We need about 30 minutes a day, elevated heart rate. The other thing is too, when you play outside, you're getting all those amazing things that happen in nature, okay? So when you start combining it all together, right? You're with people, connection, you're outside moving your body, good for mind, body, and soul. You're getting the benefits of nature. You're doing something that's fun and creative. You're allowing your brain to breathe because you've finally taken that foot off the accelerator, right? And you're having fun.
It ticks all the boxes.
It ticks all the boxes. And so with all of our research, we're doing this thing called the Great Reconnect at the moment. So we're actually right now measuring Australia's wellbeing. So when you did that battery check, you literally went towards the data of checking in how someone your age in your state is actually faring. Now, you've skewed the results, mate, because you're at 88%. Well done. But what we know from now 10 years of research, the science, everything that we've been doing, collecting data, is that the best thing that we can do for Australians is to basically ditch the phone, grab a friend and go outside and play, no matter what that looks like. And so that's why I love play so much, because all the research to me shows us that the best thing that you can do for your mental health and well-being, which is practically free, easy, and improves friendships, is to actually go play.
Go play. Find your thing, whatever it is.
100%.
Yeah, I love that. You spoke a little bit about connection just there, and this has gone a little off topic, but I'd love to get your thoughts on what AI is going to be like. I'm sure you'll deal with it in a business world. Is that going to be detrimental to our human connection?
This is such an interesting topic because our board of advisors and our team have been really deep into this for almost a year now. So on our board, we have neuroscientists, clinical psychologists, behavioralists. I mean, it's a really heavy board. I'm just a simple, practical guy that, dumbs things down for me mainly. Look, I think we're going to go two ways, to be honest, Elliot. I think there's going to be the people that love technology, love Uber Eats, love screens, and will literally live indoors on screens, Uber Eats, spectating and just frothing that life, right? Whatever that looks like for them. Then you're going to probably get people like me and others that understand the importance of actually reconnecting back to themselves and others in nature, knowing that that's actually the way that we light up. And look, if I'm going to look at it from the teacher's hat on, we need to get people outdoors. Like, it's costing the Australian government $200 billion a year for mental health in Australian wellbeing, so loss of productivity. It's huge, right?
Yeah.
So the best thing that we can do is actually get our nation back outdoors.
Which is a weird, sorry, it's a weird thing to comprehend because we are a nation of outdoors people.
We were, mate.
That's why I grew up thinking everything I did was outdoors. Everything.
Yeah, we used to be.
And now to hear that we've gone...
Yeah, the other way.
We've gone the other way.
Yeah, we're not the fun-loving larrikins that used to go play outdoors and wrestle crocodiles anymore, mate, that the Yanks used to perceive us as. So this is the thing with AI, right? And I think this is what we have to realize, because I've been experimenting on myself with it. Now, so I, got the whole ChatGPT subscription thing. We've been using it at work. And yes, it does make life easier. You can get any information you want. It's faster. But what's happening is I'm realizing that with us is that just because you ascertain information faster, so let's just say you have a task, right? And typically it took you an hour. Now ChatGPT, it might take you 10 minutes, but it's not like you use that other 50 minutes to actually do other cool stuff for your health. You then just keep using ChatGPT for the next 50 minutes. But because it gives you so much great information all the time, you're overwhelmed with options. And so not only do you just have this one option that you've come up with, but you can actually utilize that. You've now got a plethora of options that you're constantly thinking, how am I even going to do all these options? And then you do it day in, day out, day in, day out. And so finally, mate, you've got a million different ideas, and it's almost like you've got information overload or paralysis because there's too much information. And information is absolutely useless unless we implement it. So you have to understand that. So information is absolutely useless unless we implement it. So if I tell you that the best thing you could do for your health, mate, is actually go for a walk 30 minutes a day as the sun's coming up. One of the best things you can do.
I do that.
Yep, good job, mate. I can tell. Problem is, I can tell you the information, but if you don't go and do it, it's useless.
Useless.
Just like ChatGPT is, right? And so the other thing, what we're doing is we're taking away critical thinking and problem solving. And this is really interesting because the app that you did will actually give you 3 suggestions based on what you need to do, but it actually allows you to think a little bit. Now, if we take that urgency away from people, so let's just say I use AI chatbot to basically look after my health and well-being. It does my work for me. All of a sudden, mate, I've taken away my critical thinking and problem-solving skills, which is pretty much the only thing we have left, right, to start to actually use our brain and thrive. Once that gets taken away, what do we have left? We become marshmallows, right? And so, look, I'm scared. I love the fact that it's really productive, but I kind of think that we've got to be very careful and we need to put guardrails up in terms of how we use it.
The downside of too much information at our fingertips.
It's more burnout, mate.
More burnout.
More burnout. It's exactly what's going to happen. Unless we disconnect and actually do the things that light us up and recharge us, if we keep going down this, we're going to have more burnout, more mental health issues, more loneliness, right? And so we need to reflect and become aware to build a life that supports us and not one that we're being supported by.
Scary.
Fuck, man, it's so scary.
It's
a year
scary.
from now, mate, ask that again.
Oh my goodness. It's incredible to see that there isn't enough evidence for people to understand how bad your mental health can get. You know what I mean? Like,
Then this is the thing, right? The evidence is there. We feel it. A lot of us have lost people around us to that.
All of us have lost someone that we know, that we're friends
Yeah.
with, that have suffered with some sort of mental illness.
Yeah.
We all know what we need to be doing.
But, you know, it's just like our health system, mate. Unfortunately, we're not proactive and we're not preventative. And for whatever reason, mate, as human beings and as a healthcare system, we sometimes, it's not like we can learn from others. It's almost like we have to go through the pain ourselves to actually then realize that, hey, there's probably a better way to actually grow through this. I just wish we were kind of a little...
Me too. Why do we have to be motivated by pain?
Yeah, and I think it's we're motivated 4 times more by pain. So moving away from pain than we are to pleasure. And I guess, mate, look, I guess it's biological, right? We had to be wired like this to survive, you know, going back to those early days of, you know, cavemen or whatever it is.
We haven't developed too much since then, have we? Yeah. I've got before we finish up, we've got some quick fire questions to finish off. So you can answer these as quickly or as long as you like. If you could shift one cultural narrative about leadership and well-being, what would it be?
I think with leadership, mate, it's not just about leading with your head, but it's leading with your heart. That would be the quickest one, yeah.
Do you feel like a lot of leaders aren't doing that?
Yeah, I feel like, look, you know, especially the old school boys, you know, if you look at our dads, it's very much, you know, lead with the intelligence and not with emotion because, look, you don't know what you don't know. If you weren't shown that way, then how are you supposed to know? Like, I didn't understand about emotions and empathy and all that. So if you don't know, you don't know. But I honestly think if you want to inspire those around you, and look, at the end of the day, mate, leaders are there. Some leaders are there just to earn profit. But if that's what they're motivated by, mate, the best way to inspire people for them staff is to actually lead with connection as well.
Is that the best kind of leader? I know there's different sort of labels for different leaders.
Yeah, mate, it depends what industry you're in.
Oh, does it?
It depends.
Very specific job.
Yeah, it depends on your mission, on your vision.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it can look. Every time I sit down with a leader, I go for a walk with him. I take him for a walk and talk, and I spend an hour.
Do you?
Yeah,
just getting to know them.
Get him to really understand what motivates them. Is it profit? Is it purpose? Is there an underlying, an underlying vulnerability of why they're doing things? And what that allows me to do is really get into not just their heads, but into their heart space. Because at the end of the day, whether they want to believe it or not, they are driven by their emotions, right? Fear or love. They're the two emotions that we're driven by. And so when I get past their head, past their barrier, past the armor that they wear, and I understand them as a human being first, I can then start to work out how they lead with purpose, right? And that is where us leaders need to start.
Is it right or wrong leading with fear or love?
Well, mate, at the end of the day, it really depends on the circumstance.
It does. Okay.
100%.
If listeners could take one simple daily practice from your book, Energized, what would it be?
Treat others with kindness.
Yeah, love that. What's one lesson life has taught you that you wish you have learned earlier?
Mate, use more of my head and not...
Is it?
Yeah, use my heart and not my head so much.
Who's your hero?
Mate, this is a good question. A hero to me is anyone doing the best they can with what they've been given. Whether that's the guy collecting bins, mate, whether that's the leader of a country. I think that if you're honestly doing the very, very best that you can with the tools that you've been granted in life, I think that's my hero. And I see people every single day that just light me up and make me so proud. And sometimes, mate, it could just be someone down the road living a very simple life but trying their very, very best. And I think to me, that to me is truly what I think humanity should strive for, is doing the very best they can in the circumstances they've got.
Love that. What's your deepest fear?
Good question, mate. At the moment, with so many shark attacks, probably getting eaten by a shark down the surf.
Yeah.
My deepest fear, mate, it would be losing my kids and my wife.
Yeah.
100%, without a doubt, mate. Now that I've got kids that are my own flesh and blood, I just think there would be nothing worse than losing one of them.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
Mate, I'm going to say live well within your means.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds really practical, but at the end of the day, mate, it's helping me thrive, and I have a beautiful relationship because of it, because I understand that I need to buy time to give to my family.
Last one. What's your proudest moment?
Good question, mate. It's really funny because I never allowed myself to become proud, like
Why?
back in the day. I don't know, circumstances, right? Mate, there's a million things there. I think tall poppy syndrome in Australia, growing up with so many brothers, you put your head above everybody else and you get knocked down very quickly, especially in my household. There was no such thing as about being proud, mate. As the moment that you did anything, you would get knocked back down again. I think I'm only just starting to come to grips with being proud of myself.
Yeah.
I would say the thing that I'm proud of the most is actually being a good husband and father. So no matter what I do in the business world, it doesn't matter how successful I become, it will never, ever overshadow the fact that all I want to do is be the best husband and father I can be. Hands down, mate. Nothing else even comes close to that.
I love that. And you should be proud of yourself, because I've loved this chat that we've had today. I've learned so much from you.
Thanks, brother.
I feel like we're really connected quite well, and even to get to know you on a more personal level. I love what you're doing. I love your mission. I have so much admiration and respect for you. Where can the people find you? The app?
Apart from your nature.
Yeah. Apart from down the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, don't follow me on social media, whatever you do.
So we've got the book here.
Yeah, the
Energized,
book.
it's out.
Yeah, look, if, mate, I would say, look, Tim Jack Adams, Green X7, LinkedIn's always a great place.
Yeah.
That's probably the best place to try and find me.
Yeah.
Other than that, mate, come and snorkel with the turtles with me.
Yeah, and the humpbacks.
Come to Kingy and have some fun with me.
Sure. Thank you so much for coming on today, mate. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Elliot. Unreal, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Mind Your Head. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really supports the show and helps others discover us. Don't forget to join us on Instagram and TikTok at mindyourhead.podcast.